fight. Ya recibieron las instrucciones que una pelea limpia. Legal punches, golpe legales here for you. Legal punches here for you. Touch gloves, good to both of you. Buena suerte a los dos.
Our co-feature WBA vacant bantamweight championship on the line. And Inoue is in the house. Solis is in the house. 14-year age difference. Inoue, the younger man.
Here we go.
Round one scheduled for 12.
See Solis starting out fast, pumping that jab. Ooh, nice counter, Inoue.
Inoue trying to snap that jab. Ooh, right
nice
hand
counter
by Solis. Now Solis throws a couple of jabs. Solis has been around. First pro fight 22 years ago. And looks great.
Yeah, actually looks good. There's a little bit more snap on the jab from Inoue though. Nice hand speed as well.
A couple of times here, Solis has led with the right hand.
Like that again. Lead him with that right hand.
Inoue more content to throw that jab.
Lovely right hand from Solis. Nice body shot. Another body shot from Solis.
Solis very active here in the first round.
Yeah. He's definitely sneaking them in at times. Again.
Goes upstairs this time. And then
Another
to the body.
Stop!
Inoue hasn't thrown a punch in about a minute.
Accidental headbutt, no cut.
Accidental headbutt, no cut. Good command by our ref, Raul Calles Jr.
Inoue seems a little bit hesitant, letting his hands go at least for the moment.
Threw a couple punches first 30 seconds, and not much since, and missing wildly with the left hook.
Solis he's been doing good with that right hand. Mixing up, sometimes he'll lead off with it, counter with it, just as you seen right there. He missed, but you know, he's trying. Again, another right hand. Another good jab from Solis.
He surely threw enough punches to win that round.
Yeah, he probably, yeah.
Would you call Inoue tentative in that round or just guarded?
I mean, he could be, you know, a little nervous. Again, like we pointed out earlier, he came up short in his first time around going for a title. Here we are again for another world title. So he probably has a lot on his shoulders, especially being sort of in the shadows of his brother. But again, it is the first round. Probably, you know, just most of the time, a lot of fighters use that round just to test the waters and see what their opponent brings before they really get warm and start pressing the action a little bit more.
Solis has been there so many times before. You know, he knows this is probably his last opportunity.
So far, looks good, though.
Very good. Currently ranked number 3 at 118. Maybe gives a little confidence in that first round.
Yeah. Definitely got some more pep in the step now coming in the second round. Start snapping that jab a little bit more now. Trying to counter with the right hand.
And Inoue counters there. one of his first counters. There's a jab. There's a right hand to the body.
That's because Solis started a little too far out and too wide.
See if Inoue warms up a little bit here.
Solis trying to slip in. He's trying to slip in the right body shot just now. Got tangled up a bit. You see Solis now with upper body movement.
And now he's back to leading with the jab.
Yeah.
You're right about Inoue. Looks a little quicker, but just hasn't been throwing punches.
And he definitely has the speed. He definitely has the speed, you know, to make something happen. But he again, he just kind of like sort of holding back and allowing Solis to press forward and press the action at times.
Not sure what he's waiting for here.
Good jab from Solis.
Inoue misses with the right hand.
Yeah. Snuck in a body shot.
And Solis looks comfortable there, moving well. Mixing it up between that jab and that right hand.
And that's where Solis wants to be at. You know, you can clearly see he wants to definitely get on the inside, get to that body more, and use that right hand on the inside as well.
Inoue's jab is being picked off by the glove of Solis.
Inoue kind of fell in a bit.
There's a couple jabs from Inoue.
Good right hand. Good right hand from Inoue. Followed with a left hook. Good right hand from Solis.
Inoue kind of rocking, looking for an opening. And thus far, it just hasn't developed. Tough round to score. That
yeah, that one was, yeah. They both had their moments in that round. Good right hand. Inoue, sharp. Right on the temple.
That was really one of the few punches overall in that round that got through, that made some noise.
There's the champ. Big bro.
One of the best on the planet.
Yeah, one of the top, in my opinion, top 3 on pound for pound. However way you want to put him at, he's definitely one of the top 3 in the world.
Round 3.
Here we go, round 3 scheduled for 12. WBA Bantamweight Championship on the line. White trunk Solis. Inoue black with gold.
Nice jab from Inoue.
Trying to smother that jab into the face of Solis.
Let him go.
Inoue got through that time. First one was blocked.
Good jab from Solis. A little wide there, a little wild.
But even a lunging Solis takes something away from Inoue's game plan.
Yeah, I mean, because you see at times, Inoue's game plan right now is just to purely box, and and use the ring to his advantage. Good hand speed from Inoue though. Just like to see him just add a little more than just one jab at a time.
Right. If you're gonna box, you got to throw punches.
Yeah.
You can think you're boxing, but you got to throw punches. There's a right hand counter.
Nice counter from Inoue.
Solis comes into the corner, and he's using a little bit of ring generalship here.
A little wild though at times himself. But he's pushing it. Oh, nice right hand.
There's a little uppercut from Inoue.
And you would think that, right, Solis want to fire that right hand because, you know, Inoue he was going in that direction.
So Solis backs him into the corner, but doesn't throw the punch.
He doesn't.
Which doesn't make that much sense.
He usually throws it from the middle of the ring, so you would think as he's closing in, he would use it again more. Oh, nice. They both kind of got a hit off that right there. Nice right hand for Inoue.
The one thing Solis is doing, though, is making Inoue play the role of counterpuncher.
Yeah.
And I thought he would be dictating the tempo here in round 3.
Good jab from Inoue.
And that's the stuff we're looking for from Inoue.
Good, yeah. Nice counter.
Final seconds of round 3. There's a crisp jab.
Good speed, good hand speed. Nice round for Inoue.
Takuma Inoue started boxing at age 4 after watching his brother and father train.
Nice little short right hand as you've seen right there, though. Good timing.
There's a cousin in the group. His name is Koki. He's 30, a super lightweight prospect, so it's all in the family. The dad, the trainer here, was 2014 Trainer of the Year, formerly an amateur boxer, also competed in karate. But Naoya is the pound for pound one of the best in the world.
Absolutely.
And recently moved up to junior featherweight after unifying the 4 bantamweights, and now one of those bantamweights could belong to Takuma Inoue. Round 4.
Oh, nice little body shot from Solis again. Oh, nice little short uppercut.
Good combination by Solis.
Ooh.
He's got Inoue ducking that good uppercut by Solis.
And I like that. You know, when the referee breaks, you only need to take a little half step back and go right back to the action.
Solis goes to the body.
But this is what I mean about Inoue not really being, like, he doesn't seem like he wants to fight on the inside as much. You know, his whole game right now is just to box purely from the outside.
There's
good
a
jab.
Good
jab.
Why not double up on that jab? Right hand.
Kind of came with the glove though. Good jab for Inoue. Right now, see a feint. When you get pauses like that between both fighters, one is waiting for the other to make the first move. So when you see something like that, you will expect one of the two to make a feint to actually bait their opponent to throw something if that's the case.
Solis throwing some jabs here.
Nice
Inoue counter.
Ooh,
wild swing.
Had some heat on that one, though.
If that connected, it could have been dangerous.
Gotta watch those head clashes from these two. Good hand speed, good jab, nice counter. Solis needs to, start pumping that jab. Right now, he's just throwing one. Maybe he should try to double up that jab at times to find his way back in, because he's clearly wants to get back on the inside like he did earlier in the beginning of the round.
Solis missing with the right hand to the body.
Nice spin out from Inoue. Good counter from Inoue.
And fast hands from Inoue.
Yeah. Now he was trying to find, you know, you see he's warming up now. It's starting to find his rhythm.
Good defense. Right hand.
Nice.
With an answer there.
See, that's where Solis wants him at, but he's letting him get away. Yeah, he has to cut the ring off and keep him trapped in the corner. So he let him out.
Still not a plethora of punches from Inoue.
They're sharp. When he does let his hands go at least.
Would you call it conservative though, his game plan here through 4 rounds?
A bit so, because from his last fight, you know, when he started getting the engine running, you know, I started seeing that he letting his hands go in combination. So like tonight, I don't know what's going on, but again, I felt like he did win that round, and when he does let his hands go, he is sharp, just like you seen right there.
Those 2 punches were good.
Yeah. But it's still early. It's still early in the fight.
Solis looks well conditioned for 41. Yeah. His corner, Raul Rodriguez trainer, Manuel Perez, the cut man, Ricardo Cordoba, and Maria Alvarez, the others in that corner.
Round 5.
You would think at this point that Inoue might get busier.
Nice little up jab from Inoue. That was smooth.
Inoue moving better. Solis, smart man.
He has to watch diving in his head at times.
Solis content to come in there with the jab. Inoue,
Nice jab.
good counter.
Yeah, nice jab. And you can see that's where Solis wants to be at. You know, he's trying to get to that body, but instead of charging in, you know, work your way in with the jab. And again.
Because you move back.
There's Inoue showing some speed.
Just came up short with that left hook. Good body shot from Solis, snuck it in before Inoue can get out of there. There he comes.
Solis missing wildly with the left hand.
But that's where he should stop pumping his jab.
There is the straight right hand.
Good body shot from Solis.
No. Cuando digo cuerpo, hermano, stop, box.
There's a left hook.
Counter, yeah, nice little counter from Inoue.
And Inoue lands the right hand.
Good right hand.
Inoue is playing the role of counter here a lot in this fight.
The Matador.
I guess you got to play that role if Solis is coming after you the whole fight.
Coming straight forward. Solis needs to at times step over and cut the ring off. Nice attempt.
Solis
nice
with the right
nice
hand.
right hand at the end though.
He got it upstairs and landed on the head of Inoue.
Is he cut? Yep.
Oh man.
He says it's an elbow.
Remember, in case of an accidental foul, we'll go to the scorecards.
Yeah, we'll pass 4 rounds.
That one came out fast.
I gotta get a replay on that one. Inoue saying there was an elbow.
16 seconds left in the round. I think the ref, Raul Calles Jr., will let him finish and let them go to work in the corner on that cut quickly.
The cut could change. This could possibly change the momentum of this fight, though.
10 seconds. Stop at the bell. 10 segundos. Para la campana.
Final seconds of this 5th round.
Sneaky uppercut from Inoue. Finish up the round.
So Inoue's corner was Shiro Takuma going to work on that cut.
Was it an elbow or a headbutt? Oh, yep, it was an elbow.
He knew it, didn't he?
Yeah, he called it.
Oh man, that's nasty.
Yeah, that's bad.
This is where these guys are absolutely indispensable.
Cutman's gonna earn his money tonight.
So many legends in the game. Ralph closed the cut, Citro, Don the Swab, Nelson, Eddie the Clot Aliano, all the legends of the past. Round number 6.
Let him go. Punch. Stop. Box.
Trying to get in the body shot there. Ooh, nice little hook though from Solis. Oh.
Solis got in again with the right hand. Inoue says, come and get me, and Solis is doing that.
And he came.
Again, Solis being aggressive in the corner.
Trying to bump the shoulder.
Throwing another right hand.
But this is where Inoue doesn't need to be yet. He needs to get back to the center of the ring. Right now, you know, he's basically allowing Solis to score punches and potentially open up that cut.
And he just did open that cut up. It's all over his body. A lunging left hook by Inoue.
And he got hit with a counter right hand just now. Nice body attack from Solis though. Started the uppercut a little too far out from Solis. Inoue, you know, telling him, come on, nice little 2-punch combination from Inoue.
That was Inoue playing counter again, jumping out there, throwing that punch.
Started with a right hand, ended off with a jab.
Bring it up.
Good jab. Good jab from Inoue.
Oh, Inoue wants him to come for him now.
But I don't think he wants to fight up the rope. Oh, nice right hand though. Well, left hand from Inoue.
Minute to go in the 6th round. Solis chasing him with the right. Inoue moving and sticking there.
Nice counter.
Or sticking and moving.
He's the boxer. Good body shot from Solis.
But there's no question that Inoue's played the role of counter. There's a nice combination.
2-punch combination from Inoue.
And the right hand punctuated that combination.
No.
I mean, when he's boxing, he looks beautiful. When he tries to ask for a war, that's when he gets hit and potentially open up that cut even more. Now he's filled.
10 seconds. Stop at the bell.
Now he's going to have to be really smart with that cut. Almost halfway through this fight.
Good round. That's a nasty cut.
Just above the eye. Meanwhile, the 41-year-old Solis looks pretty good.
Here's the beginning of the round. Again, I think this is like the second round where Solis will start out really strong and try to overwhelm Inoue with punches, but he ends up allowing the tide to change, and that's when Inoue comes back and fights his way back into the round.
Solis 2-3 in world championship fights. It's all about that cut for Inoue now between these rounds. And they're doing a good job. And the best way to keep it that way is to stay out of trouble.
Exactly.
Good crisp jab. That would be the game plan. Box.
Just like that. Just keep boxing.
Double up on the jabs.
Inoue's feeling it right now. He's feeling it.
Yeah, he looks more engaged in the fight right now.
Yeah, he has more pep in his step.
Good move off the ropes. Good athleticism. Solis the jab.
Good
Solis
counter,
has had him
good
in the
counter right
corner
hand.
a lot today, but now Inoue coming off much better. Spinning.
Yeah, fighting on the ropes now. And he's keeping it in the
There's
center
a
of the
crisp
ring.
jab from Inoue. Another
Jab.
one.
Good jab.
A right hand. Nice
Good
combination.
combination.
And it was punctuated by the left hook to the body.
There's that hand speed. Nice body shot from Solis. Good jab. Inoue.
The punches are coming off more naturally, more instinctively. And the jab is ever present right now for Inoue.
Inoue is sitting down on. He's sitting down on that right hand.
See if he can follow it up.
So he's kind of slowing down this round. Just missing the mark.
That might be the 14-year difference at age 41 versus 27. No matter what kind of shape you're in. Inoue just missed with the right. Minute to go, round 7. Solis to the body.
I like how Inoue changes directions, though. You know, he's not moving just the same direction. He'll change it up.
Jab again by Inoue off the ropes.
Oh,
right hand by Solis. That one was blocked. Gotta believe Inoue's corner saying, get off those ropes, especially in that corner.
And tighten the defense. Blood starting to stream again from that cut. But, you know, I don't think, right now, Solis isn't that's a nice right hand. I was going to say he hasn't been making them really, you know, pay or try to open up that cut more. Well, I'm pretty sure he has, but he hasn't had more success. Nice combination from Inoue.
Solis backing him into that corner again as the bell sounds. I think it's going to be this way all the way through.
Looks that way. Sitting on that right hand. Bam. Nice counter and slipped out the way of Solis's right hand as well. Good counter.
So that was really a combination, not a punch, a combination of one, getting out of trouble,
Right.
and
Offense,
two,
defense.
scoring.
Offense, defense.
They continue to work on that cut on Takuma Inoue.
Round 8.
Round number 8. 12-round fight for the WBA vacant bantamweight championship. Vacated by Naoya Inoue.
Good combination.
Takuma Inoue trying to grab it. There's the pep in Solis's step.
He's double up that jab. There we go. Stop double up that
Inoue.
jab.
Right hand. Got through.
Around the guard. Inoue tries to throw. Solis tries to throw one on the guard. Nice counter to the body by Solis.
There, Inoue came off the clinch a little bit, scored, and scored again.
A little up jab from Inoue there. Good right hand from Solis. Backs Inoue into the ropes.
Solis has not backed down at all.
No.
Stop. No
Nice
wrestle.
spin. Nice spin by Inoue.
Combination by Inoue.
Good body shot from Solis.
Stop. No
lot of
wrestling.
Grabbing in this
Very
round.
very physical. Real physical round.
Again, that really doesn't favor Inoue. It doesn't give him the opportunity to throw that jab, create some distance.
Right. So he's really good at catching Solis on the end of his punches. So yeah, it doesn't do him any justice on the inside as you've seen at times. Good jab from Solis. Just missed that right hand.
There we go.
Nice
Inoue 1-2 combination. Right hand scored solidly to the face. And here's Inoue back moving and moving nicely. But Solis won't let him out of that corner.
Good body shot. Snug in the body shot from Solis. Way to escape by Inoue. Bring him back to the center of the ring. Good jab.
Coming up on 10 seconds to go in round 8.
10 seconds. Step at the bell.
And they'll go to work on that cut again in the corner after the round. And a right hand
yeah.
right before the bell.
Right over that shoulder. It's that up jab.
I mean, it's not a thing of beauty, but they've got it under control.
Yeah, it definitely, the cut hasn't been much of a factor in this fight so far.
They have to do their due diligence between rounds. And that's Shiro Sakuma who's doing that work. So heading to the 9th.
ラウンド9
Liborio Solis in the white trunks. Takuma Inoue in the black and gold trunks.
Nice defense and movement from Inoue just now.
There's Solis.
Body shot.
Combination goes back to the body with the left hand. When he digs that left hook, it's effective.
Stop.
And he tries to do it off the clinch a lot.
Yeah.
Right hand gets through by Solis as he continues to chase him.
No.
We haven't seen him leave that right hand in a while. He's going back to it. Good jab from Inoue.
Stop.
Both of them just missed their mark.
Inoue picked off that punch. And just missed on the left hook, but landed with the right hand.
Right, another right hand from Inoue. Good right hand. So you can see right now, he's just coming up a little short. Like his feet are just a little heavy. Oh, nice little counter uppercut from Inoue. Good jab.
Looks like Solis could fight forever. And he's 41.
Just a little slower, though, on the foot, on his feet. He's pressing. Yeah, he's definitely durable. And he's got hit with a few good, clean right hands from Inoue.
It's not that hand speed or the foot speed.
He's just missing his mark. But Inoue can see it a mile away, especially when Solis is loading him up at times.
So should he counter right away?
He should start throwing feints. See, you can see even right there, he's loading up. And he's showing it. Good jab from Inoue.
No.
This match has had a lot of tug of war in it.
10 seconds, stop at the bell.
1 second, body blow landed by Solis.
Stop. Box, listen for the bell.
And there's the bell. Listening for it. And 9 in the books.
Round 10.
Championship rounds. We go to the 10th.
And you see he has a lot. Ooh, nice little sharp uppercut on the inside.
And again, fighting off the ropes, that time scoring as he got off.
Tie him up, spin him out, bring him right to the center of the ring. That's what he wants to do.
Inoue gets through, doubles up the jab that time.
Stop!
It's a really good defense shown by Inoue there, getting out of the corner, escaping nicely, and landing a jab. And
Body shot.
Body after double.
Nice. Left hand, with that left hand.
Kind of what we expected earlier in the fight.
Yeah. Now he's gotten his rhythm. It took him a while, but he's definitely gotten his rhythm. Good jab from Inoue. Nice little body, nice little right, left hand from Solis down to the body.
Inoue's feet are really still strong.
Yeah.
Here we go. Break. Box.
Just missing with that right hand. He just missed
felt the win on that one.
Inoue counters.
But you see, you can tell at times when, like Solis gives it away when he's looking just for that right hand. Like he'll load it. You can see he'll tense up and he'll load it up, just like that. Instead of setting up with the jab, he just bombing it from a distance, too far out.
But it's been the same pattern almost the entire fight, with Solis backing Inoue up against the ropes or into a corner, and Inoue playing the role of counterpuncher.
And also, Inoue has clearly made the right adjustments to see that punch coming a mile away. That's why, for Solis, as a veteran fighter, he has to change up his tactics and do something a little bit different.
Let him go. Stop. Box.
Body shot.
Here's Inoue with a little bit of a flurry. I'm just surprised we haven't seen more of it throughout the fight. More punches. There it is. Really good. Going backwards. Right hand upstairs. effective.
10 seconds, stop at the bell.
And he's still fresh. He's feeling it.
Stop.
Raul Calles Jr., the referee, has his role tonight.
He has work cut out tonight.
He really has, and he's done a good job. Bruce Beck and Jamel Herring. This is fight number 4. We've got one still to go. Titles on the line, Kenshiro Taraji. The WBC and WBA Light Flyweight Championship against Anthony Alasquaga. That's our last fight of the night coming up next.
I'm short. Man, again.
Really, look at that.
Gets out
Both
the
guys
way.
missing there. I thought that was a good round for Inoue. Two or three rounds were really close.
ラウンド11
We have it 7 rounds to 3. It could easily be 6-4. And timeout right away. Taken by Raul Calles. Forgot his mouthpiece.
Time in.
So Solis gets the mouthpiece, and we're back in play. Round 11.
Good little body attack from Inoue. Nice foot movement. And here's that hand speed I was talking about earlier.
Second to one.
Championship rounds here.
No le fue la cara. Stop. Quick. No le empujes y le pegues. ¿Ok? ¿Entiendes? Relax.
Right hand by Inoue, got over the left glove, over the guard nicely. Another one got through.
In and out, in and out. Going underneath the punches now. Definitely see. Definitely you using this nice footwork for Inoue. Utilizing the whole ring now. We've been utilizing the whole ring all night, but he's definitely feeling it right now. You can tell who has more pep in their step by far. Good jab from Inoue. And for Solis, it's pretty much been the same thing. You know, he's coming in forward, loading up the right hand. It's just that it doesn't have the same snap on it, let alone speed, as it may have in the earlier beginning of this fight. Again, he leave himself open. He fell in, got hit with the counter.
Good move by Inoue. That time he was able to pin Solis against the ropes. And it was one
Which
quick
is a rare
step.
sight, yeah.
Stop. No.
See, Solis is now he's frustrated by the tie-up. The jab from Inoue.
Inoue's clever when it comes to those clinches. You know what, Solis a little bit slower. As the fight has progressed, the last 3 or 4 rounds, you could just see it. And Inoue has maintained the same speed.
His punches are slower. His footwork, again, he's just coming up short. He's falling in, allowing Inoue now to come under with uppercuts.
And that could leave him susceptible to a right counter by Inoue.
His jab from Inoue.
That could be meaningful.
Again, try to look for that counter. Because Solis keeps falling in. As you see Solis right now, he's looking at the time.
Yeah,
so that tells you a lot.
You can't do that. That's like tugging at your shorts. Final seconds of the round.
You see again, Inoue, that again, she tried to look for that uppercut underneath because Solis, when he throws that right hand, he falls in and he falls over his lead foot.
11 in the books, 1 to go. Ariake Arena in Tokyo. WBA Vacant Bantamweight Championship on the line. Will it be Takuma Inoue? Liborio Solis. Inoue trying to grab one of the belts. His brother Naoya vacated. You can dream all you want about a world championship, but it's right there for the taking now for him.
라운드 12 라스트 라운드
Liborio Solis has won the title twice, a former WBA super flyweight world champion. Here we go, 12th and final round. Again, that right hand that Solis has used so often to go after Inoue, using it like a jab. A lot of complaining here in this round, and not a lot of fighting.
You can see the frustration on Solis' face though right now.
Stop. No, aquí estoy.
Inoue's turned it into a wrestling match on a number of occasions. There's a right hand.
Counter, nice little counter. And again, he's using Solis' momentum against him. He keeps falling in, trying to land that right hand.
And part of the fatigue for Solis now is that left hand is also dropping. Oh, almost got him with the right.
Just kind of nipped him there.
Gotta watch that right hand of Inoue if Solis keeps that glove down a little bit. Good crisp jab by Solis.
Yeah, you see Inoue charging forward instead of just boxing around the circles. He's actually moving forward that time. The 1-2.
Solis chops at the midsection. Inoue counters again with the right. Man, a lot complaining in this round.
Oh, he lost his heads.
As many clinches as punches in this round.
Again.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah.
Left hand really punctuated that combination. It was a short uppercut. Solis battles back. Inoue counters again. Final seconds of the bout.
10 seconds. Stop at the bell. 10 segundos. Para la campana.
Oh, right hand by Inoue.
Another.
He's been looking for that one. An open right hand like that all night.
Good fight. Good fight.
A lot of chess in that fight. A lot of gamesmanship.
Definitely.
But I think Solis had to use a lot of that experience to try to, to handle a guy 14 years younger who's clearly quicker. And he did a good job with it in terms of being battle tested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, credit to Inoue from picking up the pace and really utilizing all his physical attributes, mainly his speed, his footwork, his accuracy, and his timing.
Solis looks good. Inoue's going to need some stitches for that cut.
But more than likely, he's going to go home with a title to keep it all in the family. So, great effort, great performance from Inoue.
I have it 107-101 for Inoue. We'll see what the judges think. It might be closer. Whatever it takes to get that championship.
He earned it. I believe he earned it tonight.
Still to come, Kenshiro Taraji and Anthony Olasquaga for the WBC and WBA Light Flyweight Championship. But first we'll get the decision on the WBA vacant Bantamweight Championship. Nice round of applause for the fighters.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. We have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, David Sutherland scores the bout 116 to 112. Judge at ringside, Robert Hoyle sees it 117 to 111. And Jean-Robert Lane scores the bout 118 to 110. All three in favor of the winner. He is now the WBA Bantamweight Champion of the World, Takuma Inoue.
So unanimous decision by 4 points, by 6 points, and by 8 points. I had it by 6 points, but forgot to add up a round. That's why my numbers were so low. But I think that's about right.
No, it's about
4, 6,
the right man won. The right man won.
The right man.